Namaste, everyone, and welcome to the full moon meditation. Before we start, let's ask for blessing, shall we? Pray to whoever you like. To the Divine Supreme God, Divine Father, Mother, to all the spiritual elders, holy masters, to all the saints, archangels, holy angels, spiritual helpers. Personally, to my teacher, Grandmaster Chok Sui Mahaguru Jemailing, we thank you for divine light, divine love. Thank you for your mercy, compassion. Thank you for compassionate, purifying light and soothing, healing energy. Thank you for blessing us with a loving heart, an intelligent mind, and a powerful will, that we may be of service to others. We thank you in full faith, and so it is. Okay, welcome. Now, a lot of you are new who are joining us, and people always ask, why do you meditate in the full moon? Well, first of all, you can meditate anytime you like. We just want to meditate on the full moon because during the full moon, there's massive amount of energy pouring down to the earth. That's why you always hear of stories of people who are normally emotionally calm, but somehow during the full moon, they get easily agitated, magnified. So it's just like pouring fertilizer to the ground, everything gets magnified. Everything grows from the fruits, the flowers, as well as the weeds. So the great spiritual teacher, Holy Master Dwalkul, the Tibetan teacher, said, the full moon is a time of crisis or a time of opportunity, depending on which side of humanity you're at. So for everyday people who are not just serious about their spiritual path, it's a time of crisis. Like we said, everything gets magnified and people are stressed out. They're worried about money, worried about relationships, health, whatever else they're worried about. All these things get magnified. So that's why they're irritable. Now, for the person on the spiritual path who knows about this energy pouring in, you can harness that energy, so it's a time of opportunity. Emotions, thoughts, energies, tendencies which are difficult to release during the full moon with a proper type of practice, you have a bigger hose to flush things out. Make sense? At the same time, during the full moon, your positive qualities can also be enhanced. Then we take it one step further. After the meditation, you have all this increased amount of energy. We can use that energy like a fire hose, just aim it at the goals and aspirations that we want and just energize them. Make sense? So it's literally a time of opportunity. Now, in addition to that, I remember my teacher used to tell me, said, not only should you guide people in meditation, you should also pick a spiritual topic that will help them understand the spiritual path a little more. So every full moon, in addition to a meditation, which is very, very powerful, the main reason you're here, we like to include a short lesson on some topic that will help you understand the spiritual path, understand the spiritual practices even more, to encourage you to continue to do more meditation, spiritual training. Okay? So now let's talk about the chalice. The chalice is a cup. And for most of us who have studied history, it has been a symbol for royalty, right? They don't, like a goblet, they don't just hold a little mug, it's a goblet, all right? And it's a sign of spirituality. During the Last Supper, it talks about Lord Jesus holding a chalice or a cup, right? And then you have the Holy Grail, according to the stories, it's the cup, well, not the cup, but the chalice, the container at the foot of the cross, which contains the blood of Christ. Now, if you study this a little further, it has many, many, many more meanings. And we want to look at the spiritual significance of the chalice because it goes way deeper than just something to hold liquid. So one of the ancient symbols of the chalice, it's of the divine feminine. Chalice is like this, it's a cup to receive. So that's one aspect. So it's in the Chinese tradition, it's called the yin aspect as opposed to the male aspect, which is yang. Yin is to receive, okay? And in other traditions, it's also a symbol for the divine feminine because it's a symbol of the uterus. In the pagan tradition, they look at it, the Wiccan tradition, it is a symbol of divine feminine. Again, to receive. Make sense? Now, if you take it one step further, in the Tibetan tradition, you oftentimes see, and also Hindu tradition, you oftentimes hear of the word skull cap, skull and a cap. But in their case, it's a little different. It's like they take the skull and, dead person, hopefully, cut it off. And it's a cup like this, and it's usually a symbol for spirituality. Now you go, oh, that's a little gross. What do you mean? How could it be a symbol of spirituality? Now you have to go a little deeper rather than just literally thinking of it as a container for blood. And it used to contain brain. Okay? What it is, it's something like this. In some Hindu tradition, it's supposed to symbolize wisdom. Prajna. Okay? Not prana, prajna. So that cup, your cranium, contains your brain. Hopefully it is connected to your wisdom, your intelligence, and how smart you are. So in some sense, that's a symbol of wisdom. Now in the Tibetan tradition, you might also see the Tibetan master, Guru Padmasambhava, Grand Master Cho's spiritual teacher. He has a left hand sitting in meditative pose, the blessing, and he's holding a dorje on the right hand. On the dorje is basically a metal where it's got four sides with a bar going across. That's the male aspect. This one is the female aspect, which is, as we said before, it's like a container to receive. Now, to understand it a little deeper, so you have to realize this is to project. This one is to receive. Now, in pranic healing, you oftentimes see us when we heal, we receive with one hand, we project the other. So this one is to receive. So how do you connect a skull cap, right, to receiving? Well, your crown chakra is actually what's symbolized in that skull cap. Your crown chakra is the receptor for the divine energy coming down. Oh, it's starting to make sense. Now, if you take it one step further, in some ancient tradition, the Hindu and Tibetan tradition, they have stories of deities that supposedly, have the skull cap, have blood in it, and drinking from it. Now, some go, ooh. Interesting enough, in order to really understand the deeper meaning of that, the Tibetan tradition, Hindu tradition, you have to look at the Christian tradition. My teacher used to always say, religion has a tendency to look at the differences. Spirituality, we look at the similarities. And to take it one step further, he goes, God is super, super smart. God did not give the entire spiritual truth to only one nation, one religion, one culture. God actually spread it out to different cultures to force everyone to work together to see the entire picture. That's why you notice, if you're with us studying anything from Buddhism to Hinduism to Christianity to Islam, any of these teachings, we oftentimes cross-reference. By the way, in Christianity, it means this. But to understand it, you have to look at the Buddhist tradition. Make sense? So in this case, it's the same thing. So if you look at the skull cap having blood, right? Then you try to understand, wait, that sounds familiar. Oh, in the Roman Catholic tradition, remember, if you're in church, there's a chalice with wine. And then you have the wafer, the host. And what does the priest say? This wine represents the blood of Christ. Do you see the connection? Skull cap, blood, chalice, blood of Christ. Now, you go, okay, this still doesn't explain anything. Hear me out. You have to realize, in every religion, every tradition, there's inner teaching, there's outer teaching. That's why the Lord Jesus said, to you, he's talking with the apostles, to you are given the keys to the kingdom of heaven, or the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven. These are the inner teachings. Outside people, you're given parables. What are parables? Stories. So there's always inner teachings and outer teachings. So inner teachings go beyond just, okay, it's blood, okay, let's transform it to wine. It's a symbol of this, symbol of that. It goes much deeper than that. So let's put everything together. Skull cap, right? The crown chakra, the chalice, the blood represents divine energy. That's why in inner teachings, you understand that when the chalice was supposed to contain the blood of Christ is the divine energy coming in. Make sense? So it's supposed to contain the blood of Christ, and whoever drinks of it will have eternal life. Now, in order to understand it further, you go deeper, not just Christianity, but inner Christianity. And that's why we teach a class, of course, taught by Master Cho, that we're now, a few of my colleagues and I are teaching, Inner Teachings of Christianity Revealed. Let's go deeper. So in that inner teaching, it works something like this. How many of you notice when you're meditating, when you deep meditation, you start doing this? Right? What's happening? You get a bad chair? No. What happens is, when you're doing intense meditation, so much divine energy come down, your crown chakra starts spinning very, very quickly. As it spins very quickly, it's spinning. So a lot of times your body has a tendency to try to, not really try to, but really rotating, kind of being affected by the rotation of the crown chakra. So you kind of go, yeah. Right? And then some of you, as you start doing this, you start doing this. Again, not because you have a bad chair. Okay? What's happening is as simple as this. With so much divine energy coming down, your crown chakra is like a cup. Remember? Skull cap, like a cup. But instead of like this, it's like that. It's receptor. Remember? Chalice, the opening. So your crown chakra is like this. With so much divine energy, liquid divine energy coming down, it's being filled up. Now, as it's filled up, it now starts to pour to the other chakras. Now, listen carefully. At some point when there's so much divine energy coming down, and it's literally like a massive waterfall of divine energy, your other chakra, starting with your forehead chakra, then your ajna. Okay, I know some of you who are, wait, that doesn't matter. Is that the third eye? Okay, if you still subscribe to the seventh chakra, that's good that you're starting out that way, but the seventh chakra is just a model that is used when you're new in spirituality. It's nowhere complete. You actually have 11 major chakras. Go study pranic healing so you'll learn a little more, okay? So you actually have 11 major chakras. You have energy centers or chakras in the front, facing front. You have chakras in the back, facing backwards. So just imagine going down the front and then up your back channel, you have this energy channel going like this with chakras in the front, chakras in the back. Just imagine you have a road that is looping around with on and off ramps or entrance and exits. This, instead of cars, you have energy. Okay? So you have the crown chakra up here with so much divine energy. Now it's, just imagine from here, it's being moved down to the forehead, to the ajna, to the throat, the heart, and so on and so on. So when that energy is coming down, well, your forehead chakra is here, the ajna chakra is here, in the back head chakra is here. So you notice the forehead chakra is here, back head is here, this is higher. So when so much divine energy come down, this one gets filled up first. That's why you have that tilting forward. No, tilting backward. See that? So if I sit this way, imagine, this one gets stimulated first and this one. So the vector is this way. The vector is that way. So you end up being like that. That's why somebody, when you're meditating, you go, yeah. Then you start doing this. Right? Okay, now, that's only part of the story. In Inner Teachings of Christianity Revealed, we'll reveal it to you. What happens is, when there's so much of that divine energy coming down, guess what happens? That divine energy, symbolized by the blood of Christ, divine energy, when that energy comes down in such intense amount, not just the crown, but the other chakras are now receiving a lot more of divine energy. Now, they temporarily, I want to emphasize, temporarily, not permanently, from like this, okay, from facing forward and backward, they start to turn up. So in other words, from facing forward, they start to turn this way. Make sense? So just imagine you have a cup that's facing up, that's the crown. The other cups are facing forward, and it spins like this. Then, with so much divine energy, it starts turning. So that's one of the reasons why, in addition to this pushing and going like this, as the other chakras start turning from forward or backward facing, turning up like this, you feel a pressure going this way, and some of you start gyrating this way. You go, oh, nobody ever told me that. Come to class. You see, what people don't realize is a lot of these sensations you have can easily be explained if you understand your energetic anatomy. Okay, let's keep going. So the crown chakra is spinning, continue to receive this massive waterfall of divine energy. Then the other chakras facing forward and backward, in the process, start turning upward slowly. So in the process of that turning, you either get pushed back, pushed forward, or some of you start doing this. Then you'll notice if you stay with meditation long enough, at some point it stops. It's just like, guess what happened? At that point, the divine energy is pouring down. All your chakras are now facing upward. So you have the crown, ajna, throat, and so on, so on. Just imagine they line up like this. So energetically, you look like a human cup. That's the real Holy Grail. That's why they can't find it. It's within you. Oh, so that's the chalice. So the crown chakra is just the mouth of the chalice. Make sense? So a lot of people don't realize that, people use that as a symbol of royalty, symbol of spirituality, but it's really hard to understand the deeper meaning until you know the inner teachings. And those inner teachings reveal what's happening to your energetic anatomy during deep, deep meditation. Okay? As the commercial says, and that's not all. There's more. As you go in deeper and deeper meditation, not only is this cup opening wider, you also have cups above your head. Those higher chakras, as you call it. Anyway, you learn one of them in Inner Christianity Revealed, in Achieving Oneness with the Higher Soul, in Arhatic Yoga. That's the 12th chakra. So what happens as your soul evolves even more? Your chakras get wider and wider. More divine energy comes down. Then the upper chalices start to open. And when it gets so wide and so open, then just imagine your spiritual container gets wider and wider and wider. That's what you call the vessel. Oh. Now, here's the question. What the heck do you do with it? I got a big crown, I got a big cup, then what? Then symbolically, you have to pour that out. Say, why waste it? No, you don't understand. You have all this divine energy pouring into you, right? When you say pouring into you, that divine energy coming in is not only energy, it's knowledge, spiritual blessings, intuition, more love, and so on and so on. A lot of the divine essence pouring into you. When that happens, since the crown chakra is also the chakra of oneness, as the crown gets bigger and bigger, you cannot help but to have more compassion towards other people. Make sense? That's why one of the ways to gauge the level of spiritual development of a person is not how many sutras, how many verses they can recite to you of some holy book, or how many degrees of Doctor of Divinity, Doctor of this, and whatever certificates they have on the wall, or how many crystals that they have. You know what it is? Their sense of service and kindness to others, which is a manifestation of good character. Because when the crown chakra gets so wide, that chakra there is also the chakra of formlessness. Because you, the soul, the spiritual self, it's not your body. Right? You always use this example. Okay, move your body. What are you doing? I'm moving my body. Who's the mover? I am. Who's the I am? The soul. You say, oh, I'm feeling happiness, joy, anger, whatever you're feeling. Who's the feeler? I am. Who's the I am? Same thing, the soul. Think of an apple, a car. Who's the thinker? I am. Who's that I am? Same thing, the soul. So the I am is actually the mover, feeler, and thinker, which is the soul, which is made of pure energy, formless. And the crown chakra is the chakra that allows you to experience that part of you that is pure energy. Hear me out. So when you're made of pure energy, you realize that every soul, every person that you meet is also pure energy with a human container. The closest thing to this pure energy that radiates everywhere with no mass is light. Photons don't have mass. Photons are the particles of light. That gives you a little clue. Okay? Now, if you're a being of light radiating in every direction, so is every person you meet. Well, what happens when you have a lot of lights in a room all radiating in every direction? You have a room of light, like an ocean of light. Do they kind of meet each other? Yes. That's why, as the crown chakra gets more activated, there's a sense of connection with all. You're not going to feel that with your lower chakras. That's why the lower chakras from the solar plexus down has to do with what? What's in it for me? In other words, survival. As you go up in the upper chakras, it becomes, okay, love, kindness, okay, knowledge, understanding, wisdom, oneness. As you go up through your chakras, it becomes from very, very material, very gross, to more and more refined, from very, very low frequency, vibrating like rocks. It becomes more and more fine, like sand, going up like that. I hope I'm not losing you. Make sense? So that said, as the crown chakra gets more activated, you start have a sense of oneness. Then you can't help but be of service to other people. It's not just like about me. It's like I want to help humanity. When I meditate, I feel like I'm connected with other people. Sense of compassion for everyone. That is the secret of the chalice. Clear? Now, if you take it one step further, it's something like this. That water also represents, like if you have a cup like this, okay, a container, that water represents many things. Let's start with the one that is most common, and then we'll lead up and connect it with the spiritual concept of the chalice. Okay, you heard this many, many times. Is the glass half... Okay, let me drink a little more. Close enough. Okay, is the glass half full or half empty? Right? If you want to talk to people who are always complaining, you go, yeah, you always look at the cup being half empty. And somebody who's more positive, yeah, I look at every situation as an opportunity to grow, so it's half full. And so you always have these people that argue, half full, half empty, half full, half empty. And then a smarter dude comes around and says, wait, what are you guys complaining about? Whether it's half empty or half full, you can always fill it up. Right? That's the true optimist. Now, you can look at it many ways. Whatever your situation is, if your cup is half empty, meaning things are not doing that great, you can fill it up. Make sense? You can fill it up, make it full. In other words, make things better. Now, if your cup or your glass is half full, you can fill it up again to make what's good in your life much, much better. So regardless, stop arguing whether your cup is empty or full. It's a complete waste of time. The cup can be filled up. Make sense? In other words, whatever your circumstances are, whether things are doing well or not doing as well as you want them to, you can change it. It's people that sit there, let me kind of analyze. Is it half empty, half full? So the person, oh yeah, half full, half empty. The way I look at it, who cares? Fill it up. Whatever you're going through in life, make it better. You with me so far? Then let's connect it to spirituality. Watch. Half empty, half full. That water can also represent your consciousness. So your consciousness can be contained, but in reality, consciousness exists everywhere. And it can also be contained in one place simultaneously. You go, oh, now you lost me. All right. Most of you who have studied quantum mechanics know about this, or at least part of it. Essentially, everything in the universe, you heard of molecules, atom, protons, neutrons, electrons, right? So there's many ways to look at this. We'll look at it two ways. One, in between each molecule is a space. In between each atom, which makes up molecules, there's spaces. An atom is made of one nucleus, which has proton and neutron, one or more electrons. In between is a space. In the proton and neutron these are made of quarks, even smaller particles. But even then, these particles have spaces in between. Now, according to quantum theory, they say even though it's supposed to be empty space, it's not really empty. In other words, if you take a box and take all the matter out of it, it's supposed to be a vacuum. Even in the vacuum of space, it's still not empty. So what? But there's nothing there. You just said it. There's nothing there. It's filled with fields. Okay? Here's a simple example. If I take one magnet, another magnet, right, and you have iron fillings. You did this in high school or elementary school. You have iron fillings. You put two magnets like this. You start noticing the movement of these iron fillings moving back and forth, right, depending how you maneuver it. So just imagine this is one quark, or let's just say one proton, neutron, whatever. Even though there's supposed to be empty space in between, there's still something there represented by the iron fillings. But in reality, you call that a magnetic field, field. You didn't say magnetic thing, you say fields. So just imagine when you pull all the atoms out of a box, that's still filled with substances called fields. So the entire universe is actually made of fields, or pure energy with no mass, to make it simple. I say, okay, moving along. What's that got to do with a cup? Hear me out. Just imagine the entire universe is an ocean of energy. The minute you take a cup and you scoop it somehow and you're able to pull it out, now all that water that is in the universal ocean is now contained in this cup. But all that cup did is kind of quantize. You see, that's where the word quantum physics comes from. That means the universe, the energy is quantized, compartmentalized. That's when people say, oh, I just had a quantum leap. I have a quantum whatever. Now, for most people say, wow, that is big. No, in reality, a quantum is tiny. It's taking the fabric of the universe and kind of make it, okay, subatomic level, quantum. But anyway, when people say about it, I don't say anything. But if you want to study it further, when things are quantized, that means it's bringing down to the smallest particle and studying it. Now, let's go back to this. So just imagine we're in an ocean of fields, or let's just say represented by water. And you take a cup, and you took a scoop of it, and somehow you're able to isolate it from the entire ocean. You just quantized it. In other words, you just took all this that is flowing and made it in a localized area, put it in a localized area. So they say that all these fields that has no mass, once it's observed, when you say observe, that means you're putting attention to it, just like we're putting it in a cup, it starts to behave like a particle. Now, for some reason, it starts having mass. It starts having momentum. Make sense? Now, listen carefully. How does that relate to our spiritual practice? The soul, the spiritual self, is the quantized version of the Supreme, the universal source. So when we come into our bodies, when the soul incarnates, the word carne in Spanish, means meat. In, of course, is in, in, out. So when the soul, which is made of pure energy, incarnates, it is putting itself into a container. So when you're doing your meditation, spiritual practice, in deep meditation, you notice you don't feel your butt on the chair. You don't feel the air. You don't hear anything. It's just like, wow, I don't feel anything. I'm not thinking of anything. Somehow I'm in a vacuum of space. You notice that? Like, in the middle of nowhere. At the same time, there's still someone observing. That someone is the soul, the spiritual self. Then when you go in deeper meditation, deeper and deeper and deeper meditation, you start to almost experience, this is weird. How come I'm observing it? I'm here, but I'm also there. And some of you start feeling like, it looks like I left the earth. Some of you in meditation feel like, hey, the earth is below me. And then before you know, it's like, I'm existing either in pure darkness or pure light. And you cannot distinguish where you're from. It's just like my awareness is there, and everywhere. Oh. Now, it's just like if I take an ice cube, I put it in a glass. The ice cube is solid, so you see solid or defined forms. As that ice melts, it becomes liquid. Now it takes the form of the glass. Then at some point, you start noticing instead of a full glass, it's becoming less and less because the water is now turning into water vapor and escapes the glass, and it's now in the atmosphere. Guess what? That's what we do. You're existing in the physical world. You have your body moving around, you're feeling, you're thinking, you're doing all this stuff. At some point, when the body's dying, or the body dies, then the consciousness, which is in the body, right? I'm picking this up, your consciousness is directing this. At some point, that consciousness is extracted from the body, from the emotions and the thoughts, and then at some point, poof, gone. Not really gone. It's just like instead of being in a very quantified area, quantized, you're now one with all. Okay. In other words, instead of arguing if the glass is half empty, half full, when you get on your spiritual path, you get to realize there is no glass. There's no cup. It's just pure oneness. Are we getting anywhere? Now, here's the important thing to remember. This energy has consciousness. That's why I remember my teacher used to say, teaching Achieving Oneness with the Higher Soul, he says, okay, what is the soul? People start saying, oh, it's love, it's the divine self, it's this, it's that. It's like, if you cannot define it, you cannot study it. If you cannot study it, you cannot manage it. You know that? So he said, okay. It's as simple as this. The soul is spiritual energy with consciousness and intelligence. So it's energy, spiritual energy, not energy like Einstein said E equals mc squared because there's still mass. It's spiritual energy. Because the energy he's talking about, that energy and mass are still interchangeable. E equals mc squared, that's the equation. And that mass somehow still is in the three-dimensional world. If you take a box, you have height, you have length, you have width. Three-dimensional, right? While you exist here, you think in three-dimensional terms. However, as you study further, they say there's a fourth dimension. Now, some scientists, they say the fourth dimension is actually time. Because time and space work together. That's why Einstein said there's space-time. In other words, if you say, hey, I'm going to meet you tomorrow, first thing you're going to ask is where, right? So that's space. That's three-dimension. Well, two-dimension, if you say go on cross street of this street, but you can say on this street, but it could be on the third floor, on this building, on the corner of Main Street and Park Avenue, whatever. So right there and then, you gave them a spatial coordinate. Height, whatever floor. Longitude, latitude. Make sense? And then, what is your next question? What time? Unless you just sit there the entire day, right? In ancient times, they probably did that. But still, it's like a certain time. So that's why Einstein said it's space-time. It's molded together. So some scientists, they look at it, hey, that's space-time. So the three dimensions. Fourth dimension is space-time. Or time, and then you put it together, space-time. Are you with me so far? Okay. However, if you look at just a spatial dimension, not including the temporal or the time included, three dimensions: height, length, and width. Imagine the one that you search the internet, they always talk about this. You have a box. That's three-dimensional. The fourth dimension, imagine every side, you add another box. My brain's going to explode. Okay, imagine you have a box. Every two dimension, which is every side, you add another box. That's four dimensions. I know our brains are not trained to it, but just kind of picture in your mind, it's floating in space. There's a box, and each part of the box actually has another cube to it. Now, not only that, you're perceiving this whole thing at the same time. See, right now you're going height, length, width, height, in this case rounded, but there's still a certain distance this way and this way. So if this was a box, three dimensions. And you have to kind of go, okay, what is the shape? So to understand the fourth dimension higher, it's just like you're seeing all sides of it, inside and outside simultaneously. Which reminds me of what my teacher said many, many years ago. He said, look, when a clairvoyant looks at something, an ordinary person looks at it three-dimensionally: height, length, width, depth, right? But what a clairvoyant sees, if he looks at, or she looks at a box, that person's consciousness permeates the box. Just not very different than you put a sponge into a bucket of water. You wait long enough, the water is both inside and outside the sponge. But you still have to distinguish, okay, it's outside the sponge, squeeze it, what's inside came out, right? But just imagine that box is now seen by a clairvoyant who can sense energy beyond the three dimensions, maybe so far, because their consciousness now permeates that box, so they're seeing the inside and outside simultaneously. That ability to see inside and outside simultaneously is essentially what you call clairvoyance, clear seeing, but not like I see things clear or not see things clearly. It's basically being able to see beyond the three dimensions. So essentially when a clairvoyant looks at you, if they're trained by a good teacher, they can look at your aura, which is beyond the three dimensions, right? You cannot take an instrument to measure at this time. I know somebody say, yeah, but I heard of these, Kirlian photography. It just basically sees a little bit of it. When you see these things, the entire body with light, that's not accurate. That's computer generated. Clear? What a clairvoyant sees, and that no comparison. Hear me out. So what happens is the chakra, your aura, is not in the three dimensions. It's beyond. That's why physically you not see it. But when you want to sense it, you can sense it in spatial dimensions. Like, okay, it's extending this far, that far, this far. But when a clairvoyant looks at it, they see the entire chakra, inside and outside, and then use the body just simply as a reference to say, okay, this is your physical body, the aura extends this far. I think it's too much for you, huh? So the fourth dimension and higher is what we call the inner world. Not like inner world means inner. Remember that box, that cube that has cubes all around it? So just imagine what you call the inner world is what's inside the box. The outer world is the outer boxes. But you're seeing both of them at the same time because there has to be a reference. It's just like if my hand is here, if a person's seeing the aura, the energy, that light, remember it's not mass, it's massless, it penetrates through the hand. So the clairvoyant could see the hand as a reference. They can say, okay, the aura of this finger is more than this one or this one and that one. But if they say, no, I want to see the inside, so they look inside. Now, in pranic healing is the same thing. That's why when you're scanning the energy, you go, okay, I'm scanning the crown. I want to scan the brain. You're scanning the energy of the brain. You don't have to stick your hand inside the brain. You just put your attention there, and your consciousness is both in your hand and inside the brain. Make sense? So when people get on the spiritual path, they don't realize they're going beyond the 3 dimensions. Now, listen carefully. The purpose of meditation spiritual practice is to be able to go beyond the 3 dimensions, and then from there, allow your consciousness to swim in that ocean of pure energy with no mass, or that universal field. Because, okay, this might be too much for some of you, but I'll just finish it with this. Just imagine this entire universe are fields. Not very different than if you have 2 magnets with iron fillings. Just imagine every iron filling that's crisscrossing that field is just energy. But as soon as you put your attention on that particular dot, that particle, which was used to be field, is basic particles, because when that energy becomes more quantified or quantized or become more individualized, then you start noticing there's data inside. Can you picture that? So here's what happens. When you're doing meditation and spiritual practice, you're going beyond height, length, width, and time, or space-time. That's why in deep meditation, some of you start noticing it's timeless. Oftentimes we do that. When you join us for a meditation, I say, oh, you were in silence for 10 minutes. Some of you go, 10 minutes? That didn't feel like 10 minutes. Well, how long did it feel like? Well, I don't really know. Maybe an hour, maybe 1 second, maybe 2. It's like you cannot put a time to it, because at that time your consciousness has gone beyond space-time. And some of you in meditation, you start seeing and sensing vividly what has happened who knows how long ago, and some of you even have glimpses of what's going to happen in the future. Right? Some of you go, yeah, I have some of those happen. They call it premonition. Well, your premonition is not happening in the 3-dimensional world. Then you take it one step further. Some of you in deep meditation, you start noticing the past, the future, and the present seem to be together. And it's just a matter if I want to look at the past, look at the present, look at the future, my consciousness, my attention determines what that data is. That's kind of a loose interpretation of the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. In other words, this is oversimplifying it, the act of observing something changes it. In other words, you affect it. Make sense? So this just feels, just imagine you're swimming in this ocean of data. But the minute you catch a packet of it, oh, okay, this is 1945, at what time? Or you go like this, you go, hey, that seems like it's my life, but how come the people around I don't recognize at this time? So your so-called awareness of this data, which is contained in the soul, is what most people call the Akashic records. Now, I remember my teacher used to say, people don't realize that each soul have their own Akashic record. A family, a country, the planet has their own Akashic records. In other words, every part of this field, once you put your attention to it, there's a certain record. Just like Bitcoin, blockchain. It's exposed to the universe. That's data that's interconnected everywhere. Blockchain. Same thing. But of course, in a more ethereal, higher wavelength frequency, whatever you want to use. Make sense? I think I gave you too much detail here. Anyway, that's the reason why when you do your meditation spiritual practice, you practice mindfulness. For ordinary people who are in business, whatever, when I say ordinary, it's not in the meaning ordinary, since have not really done much spiritual practice, have not achieved a high level of spiritual attainment, just to make it simple. So in their case, their idea of mindfulness is, okay, I'm eating, so I have to focus on every time I'm chewing to really, appreciate the food I'm eating. Or when I'm writing, when I'm working, mindfulness is I put my attention there and be mindful of every keystroke, whatever. That's good. Here's the problem. If you get stuck with it, that's it. You can't go any higher. That's just the initial point. So as you go higher in mindfulness, then you start being aware. Okay, what are my thoughts? What is the movement of my, what are the desires of my body? What are the desires of my emotion? You start observing all these things. That is a higher level of mindfulness. You're now being aware that the soul is being pulled by the emotions to experience this feeling. It's being coerced by the body to eat that ton of ice cream in one gulp, whatever it is, right? So that's a form of mindfulness. But as you raise your frequency higher and higher, then, listen carefully, people say mindfulness is what? The power of the present time, right? There's Eckhart Tolle, amazing author, The Power of Now. So that alone is a huge deal for most souls, most people. Because people worry about the past. No, they regret the past, pissed off about the past, and they're afraid of the future, or they're stressing out with the future. So they say, just be aware of the now. In your case, since you understand this continuum, space-time continuum, we have a saying, live not in the past, live not in the future, live in the now. That's good, but there's something better. Live in eternity. Eternity is basically taking the temporal portion out of it. Instead of saying before, now, later, you say it's all one package. It's all one time. There's no line. It's not linear. Consciousness permeates the entire universe simultaneously. That's it. I think that was a little too much for some of you, but here's what we're going to do. We're going to do a full moon meditation, and we're going to take this opportunity as we do our meditation should take you up in frequency, and I'm hoping that most of you will experience this timelessness that we're talking about. Okay? So, when you're ready, let's do our meditation. To the Divine Supreme God, Divine Father, Mother, we humbly ask for your blessings. To my teacher, Master Tsokok Sui Mahagu Jumeling, we thank you for divine light, divine love. Thank you for wisdom, help, and protection. Personally, to my teacher, Master Tsokok Sui Mahagu Jumeling, thank you for teaching through me and blessing through me. I am only your instrument. Thank you. Ready? Put your hand like this. I am that I am. Just be aware of your crown. That part of you that can register formlessness. Just be aware of your crown. I am that I am. I'm not this body. I'm not any of my emotions. I'm not any of my thoughts. Those are all instruments of the soul. I am the soul. I am the mover of this body. I'm the feeler of these feelings. I'm the thinker of these thoughts. But they're not I. Just be still. Be aware of your crown. I am that, the soul. A spiritual being of divine intelligence, divine love, divine power. I am that, the soul, the spiritual self. Now go beyond the body, the feelings and thoughts. Just let your consciousness drift above your head. I am connected and one to my higher soul. I am connected and one to the divine spirit in me. I am a child of God, meaning we're still growing and evolving. I am one with God. I am one with all. There is only oneness. We are one. There's only oneness. Now open your hands in blessing. We'll do meditation twin hearts. Take your left hand, tap the center of your chest. Take your right hand, tap your crown. Say, we are one. Our hearts are one, our souls are one, our spirits are one. Now visualize the earth in front of you. Be aware of your heart and your hands. Fill the earth with beautiful, beautiful pink light. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Wherever there's hatred anywhere in the world, let me sow unconditional love. Where there's injury, let me sow pardon and forgiveness. Let my soul be filled with peace, love, and forgiveness. Where there's doubt, let me sow faith. Where there's despair, let me sow hope. Think of people you know going through challenging times in their life, with their health, with their finances, relationships, their emotional and mental health. Visualize their lives turning around and getting better and better. Bless them with beautiful pink light. Bless them with a new hope and a new faith and a better life. So be it. So be it, and so it is. So it is. Where there is darkness, let me sow light. Darkness is the ignorance of the knowledge that one is a being of light. So bless every person, every being on earth with spiritual light, spiritual awakening and knowingness. So be it. Especially if you have family members and loved ones who are in the dark about their spiritual nature. Bless them with spiritual light. So be it. And where there's sadness, let me sow a tremendous amount of joy. Be aware of your heart. Just say our hearts are one. And in this oneness, may every person, every being on earth be blessed with peace, with love, with a spirit of forgiveness and reconciliation, with hope and with faith, with light and joy. So be it. So be it. Now be aware of your heart. Take a deep breath. Be aware of your crown. Exhale. Just be still. Just be aware of your crown. Just say our souls are one. Now imagine beautiful golden light from your crown flowing down through your hands and filling the entire earth. From the heart of God, through my soul, through my entire being, may every person, every being on earth be blessed with love and kindness. Let all be blessed with great joy and happiness, with understanding, harmony, and divine peace. May all be blessed. Let my soul be blessed with peace, love, and kindness as I share this peace, love, and kindness with every person, every being on earth now. So be it. Just fill the earth with peace, love, and kindness, with beautiful golden light. May all be blessed with great joy and happiness, with understanding, harmony, and peace. So be it. So be it. And so it is. May all be blessed. Now, gently be aware of your heart and crown. Take a deep breath. Exhale. Imagine golden light even brighter than before pouring down and filling the entire earth, both physically and non-physically, in all dimensions. From the center of the heart of God, through my soul and through my entire being, may every person, every being on earth be blessed. May all beings in the higher worlds, middle worlds, even the lower worlds, in every dimension, in every direction, be blessed with God's unconditional love and kindness. Let all be blessed with inner peace, inner healing. May all be blessed with goodwill and the willingness to do good. So be it. So be it, and so it is. May all be blessed, without exception. So it is. Now gently lower your hands on your lap. Keep your eyes closed, keep your tongue on the roof of your mouth. Imagine a beautiful golden flame just floating above your head. Be aware of the love within your heart. Send a stream of love from your heart up to the crown, past your crown into that golden flame. And stay there. You're not the body, you're the soul. You're not the emotions, you're the soul. You're not your thoughts, you're the soul. A being of pure spiritual energy. A being of brilliant light. That is your nature. Be still. Allow your awareness to just gently drift deeper and deeper into that beautiful golden flame. Be aware of the inner stillness, the inner peace in the space between each Om. That space is filled with nothingness, of just pure spiritual light. Your complete awareness is drifting deeper, deeper into that space, that pure nothingness, timelessness. Allow your awareness to simply dissolve into that pure nothingness. Be still. Be aware of that pure nothingness. And just simply let go. And let things be and let things happen. Now. Let go. Allow your consciousness to just merge with the universal consciousness, the universal field. Your consciousness is now omnipresent. Let go. Now. Just let your consciousness drift deeper and deeper into that universal field of nothingness. Now. Gently, very slowly, very gently and slowly, come back to your physical body. Gently move your fingers, move your toes. Gently, slowly come back. Raise your hands in blessing again. Imagine all the people you love in front of you. Fill them with golden light. May all of them be blessed with good health, with happiness, with prosperity, and with spirituality. So be it. May all be blessed, so be it. Now be aware of your feet and the base of your spine. Project golden light downwards into the earth and repeat after me. Let our beloved Mother Earth be blessed with divine light, divine love, and divine power. Let our beloved Mother Earth be healed, regenerated, and revitalized. Blessings be to Mother Earth. So be it, and so it is. Okay, open your eyes. How do you feel? Some of you are like, whoa, that's a lot. Now, what we always do during the full moon meditations, you have all this energy you generate, right? So we want to use that excess energy, the energy that your body cannot absorb anyway, project this to the projects that you have. You want a better job, more money, better health, better relationships, more opportunities for you, for your loved ones, someone you know going through difficult times, whatever it is, basically your wish list. Okay? If you've been following us, we always ask you to write it down. So if you have those, pull it out. We'll give you a few minutes, a few seconds, pull it out. The ones who are new, just think of what do you want in your life? What do you want to improve in your life? Any of those I mentioned, or it could be a specific project that you want to be successful. Okay? Visualize those in front of you. So we'll wait. All right, ready? Raise your hands. Say, we are one. We are one. We are one in blessing. So be it. Now, if you have those written down, you have it in front of you, if you're visualizing, regardless, just aim that brilliant light, like aiming a fire hose, a brilliant golden light. Bless those projects with success, with progress, with divine order, with proper materialization and manifestation. So be it. Just keep visualizing it, manifesting properly, according to the divine will. Keep flooding it with golden light. You can also say, as my heart desires, so be it. Keep going. Just aim that golden light at your projects. Keep going. Keep flooding with golden light. Smile, be happy. Bless with success. So be it. So be it. Also think of other people who are going through challenging times. Make a wish for them. Flood it with golden light. Some people might be having health issues. Some people have financial issues. Visualize their lives getting much better. So be it. So be it. With God's blessing, so it is. Om. Amen. Tatastu, and so it is. All right. So, shall we give thanks? To the Divine Supreme God, Divine Father, Mother, thank you. To all the spiritual elders, holy masters, saints, archangels, holy angels, spiritual helpers. Personally to my teacher, Master Chokok Sui Mahagujime, thank you for your great blessings. In full faith, so it is. Okay, thank you very much for joining me. Please go to our website. We have classes, we have meditation, we have the Anchor Light meditation 6 times a week. You can join us for that. The whole idea is to develop a spiritual routine so that as you do your meditation on a regular basis, the reality of who you are permeates your consciousness. And at that point, your chalice opens up more divine energy comes down, you're happier, you have more clarity, you have heightened intuition, and you have a sense of oneness with all. What else do you want? Okay, thank you very much for joining me. This is Master Stephen Ko, a humble disciple of my teacher, Grandmaster Chokok Sui. And wherever you are, please go to your nearest pranic healing center, learn the teachings so you can have better control over your energy, and have better control over your life. Okay, after we're done with this, go and do your exercises to physicalize the energy more. Namaste, everyone. Y'all take care and live super energized. God bless.